I'm in Max.
You are listening to Happy Jack's RPG Podcast.
I'm in Max.
Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello!
Hello.
And welcome to Season 26, Episode 5 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
And I'm Tappy.
And, first off, I don't have the...
What?
Finger guns.
What thing don't you have?
my ad copy.
Oh.
Do a Rainbow Railroad thing.
Oh, yeah. So, we still are doing our Rainbow Railroad charity drive. It's going on for the rest of the month. We've gotten about a little over halfway to our goal. We're hoping to get $10,000 because that is about the cost it takes to save one person and get them to a safe location. If you go to happyjacks.org/rainbow, you can see all the information, all the pages. We still have prizes that you can win too, so it's a month-long thing. If you're waiting to see if you got a prize, then you're going to have to wait till the end of the thing. Sorry. But still, continue to go, continue to give. It's a great cause, and they're a fantastic organization.
And my browser just crashed, so keep talking.
Do you want me to just do
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
All right. This episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast is sponsored by Decima, the R&D for your RPG. This fantastic game that was written by a very fabulous person who I'm sure you don't know. This isn't the ad copy, but it's more fun when I do it this way. It's kickstarting right now. It made its goal in less than 20 hours. It was very exciting. And we are now working on our fourth stretch goal, which we're about $400 away from. And if we make that, which is $20,000, Samantha will draw the entire deck of tarot cards individually. She's on vacation right now, so I'm not going to tell her that. No. No, she's following it. She's very excited. I'll just call her in the middle of the night. Yes. Yeah, like 70 more cards to draw, Samantha. No problem.
And even more interesting, at the $20,000 level, you'll find out how accurate your math is when you determine what your stretch goals are going to be and whether they will be economically viable.
They are. They're very good. Okay, So we planned for all contingencies. I had spreadsheet magic happening in like so many different ways.
It's kind of its own field of mathematics.
It's very exciting, yeah. So, check that out. goldenlassogames.com/Kickstarter. Decima is a tarot-inspired game that you play. It takes 40 to 90 minutes generally. Tabby's played it.
Mm-hmm.
I played it too.
Yeah,
I played a very early version of it.
You did.
Yeah.
You played the super early version.
Yes.
Basically, it creates character connections similar to PBTA style character creation. It makes details of your location, such as NPCs, cultural things, slang terms, also a map, so everyone has similar reference points when they're describing your location, and then world dynamics. So what is your party's reputation? How do they interact with the world? Who owes them money? Things like that. There's a really pretty video with a lot of great people in it, so go look at the video. goldenlassogames.com/Kickstarter.
And I backed it yesterday.
Yay! Tell your friends. Yeah, that's the other thing you can really do if you've already backed it or you can't back it because of financial reasons. I totally get that. Spread the word. That's the biggest thing that you can do to help. Post about it on Reddit because I'm not on Reddit, and and forums, not our forum because they know already, but other forums and Facebook groups because these are places that tend to look down on new people showing up and shilling for their product. Sorry.
Right.
That's one weird thing that I've really noticed recently is I have a lot of friends who have small businesses or make their own things and nobody reposts. It's literally the easiest thing you can do. You see it, there's a thing, we'll repost. Maybe you write a thing about it, maybe you don't. Maybe you just send it on. But I have a friend who makes stuff and I have almost 200 mutual friends with her and I get one share from when I post.
Yeah.
It's what?
More things.
What the fuck is the matter with you people? This doesn't even cost you money. It doesn't even cost you time.
Right.
Yep. So spread the word. Anyway, that wasn't the copy, but...
It was close.
In
this episode, Jason writes in proclaiming, "Don't kill your characters!"
What?
James from New Zealand asks if computers will replace GMs. And Adam from Utah asks how to play Deities. Before we start that, was it New Zealand?
Yes.
We got a care package from New Zealand. We got perky nano lumps, which sounds like grandma porn. My lumps, my perky nano lumps. I'm going to make a lot of noise and try one.
Oh, great.
I'm going to break the rule.
Okay. I guess
Ooh,
since
I'm
it's
a
in
rule
it-
breaker. Can I have one too?
Yes.
Oh my god, they're like,
I've got several of them.
how large are they?
It turns out international air shipping, little tough on confections.
So these are sent to us by Kiraku, who sends us cool stuff. It's also really been helpful with Decima. And
They're strangely like yellow inside.
well, they're
It's
banana
banana.
lumps. It's banana.
Oh, it's banana. I thought it was made for old people.
I mean, that might be yellow then too. It definitely has like the banana candy smell.
Oh, it has a banana candy taste too.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
That's
So,
banana,
a
all right.
lot of people might like this. Turns out I also just like chocolate, as well as banana flavor. So I should not have put this in my mouth. I regret this immensely. However, I appreciate something being sent from elsewhere that we can't get here that I can regret putting in my mouth.
I'm actually kind of a fan.
Oh,
No.
wow. It sticks to your teeth, too.
Yeah. No.
Yep. It's like marshmallow nano lumps.
Yeah. They also sent those awesome
Banana
little
flavored peeps.
little jelly planes that were like the fruit jellies. But I ate all
didn't
those.
make 'em.
No, they didn't make it to here. Sorry.
All right. Oh, and Happy Way Tangy Day.
With Tangy Day. I can't do the accent. Sorry. You have to do it.
What's Way Tangy Day?
It's a New Zealand thing.
No, we do.
It's a day.
Where they way tangy?
Yes.
It's like everybody have fun tonight kind of thing.
Everybody way tangy tonight.
Yeah.
Should we sing the song?
Sure.
What?
Happy Way Tangy Day to you.
Happy Way Tangy Day to you. Happy Way Tangy Day to New Zealand. Happy Way Tangy Day to you. And many more.
Don't kill your characters from Jason. At least not at first. How I handle
It commemorates in 1840 the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi.
Which is?
I'm looking.
a place in New Zealand? A place or institution
I
in
feel
New
like
Zealand?
every time we talk about this, we forget and we have to look it up again.
Well, it's been a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we forgot last year because someone wrote in and was like, "You missed it." We were like, "Oh no." Just
Is
like
there a
that.
Waitangi Day Con in New Zealand?
Waitangi Con?
Waitangi Con?
I don't know.
Well, we should probably we should see if it's a bad, sad thing.
I don't know.
No,
I'm going to redeem it.
that'd be bad if it was a
Is
sad
there a
thing.
convention?
How I handle character death has changed after playing Pelgrane's Cthulhu Confidential, a gumshoe 1-to-1 game that is designed for one GM and one player, which is amazing,
Amazing!
and gave me gaming back after a crazy work travel schedule, a crazy home life with 2 kids, and not being able to pull a group together. Highly recommended. The game uses a card system. Fail a roll, get what amounts to a consequence card. Succeed, and you get an advantage card. PC death. Is it a gumshoe? It's a gumshoe,
if
but it
it's-
uses cards? Because gumshoe
Yeah.
uses cards. It uses just like a...
I guess it's a gumshoe hack? I don't know.
Must be. Okay. PC death is handled via these cards. If you botch a fighting challenge, you may get a card that says, Bleeding Out. If you have this problem at the end of the game, you bleed out and die. The game rule is that no PC dies in the middle of an investigation. I kind of like that. Since it's just a GM and a player, that would kind of end the game. This works wonderfully to keep the game rolling and helps fight player timidness when it comes to getting into intimidating game situations. If the player still has a card that kills her at the end, then she narrates that death at the close of the investigation. I've ported this idea over to some larger group games and one-shots, and it's worked well. A mid-season death blow may hobble a character mechanically to some degree, but the player can still contribute to the game and the story during the session. Death at the end of the session doesn't come as a shock, and she can have an active role in how the story of that death plays out. It's probably not for every game or every group, but it's added a cool dynamic to my game. There's always a fate worse than death. What do you think? How have you handled the narrative of character deaths in your games? Thanks, and drink.
Huzzah!
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
In Moment of Truth, I have a mechanic that you can handle death a couple different ways. You run out of hit points, you die, or you die when you think you've taken a sufficient amount of damage, and the player just says, "My character dies," and then you rain basically bennies on the table to all the other players. yeah, like I think every player gets 3 of them. I think, something like that, and then suddenly they're reloaded with what they need to maybe defeat the bad guys. It's that, oh my God, they killed Kenny, you bastards moment. So, which I think is, I kind of like the idea of leaving death in the players' hands, especially with our players, because they're like, this is a really good time for my character to die.
Yeah.
You will have that thing.
I'm not that big of a fan of it, just because I actually enjoy players trying to think about what are the consequences of this situation, as opposed to that timidness. They need to do the thing. If they don't do the thing, there are other consequences that might happen.
Right.
But maybe not taking the most obvious approach. Perhaps. When you know that you are not going to die, you can simply take the most obvious approach because there's no real risk.
Right.
And and you can decide to narrate your death or whatever as you please. And so while that can be fun, when I'm running a game, I really enjoy trying to make my characters be like, oh shit, this is for real. This is dangerous. And how am I going to do this without just, bad things happening, without me just getting worked? You can't just run out and start shooting a whole bunch of people because one bullet ruins your whole day. So I'm not saying that I'm necessarily want a simulationist approach, but I do like the players having a respect for what the opposition, whatever it is, or what consequences might happen because of their actions. It is a very specific type of game. There are other games where you absolutely want them flying at whatever problem they have full bore with their hair on fire.
Right.
But in games that I run, I tend to really try and stay away from this sort of concept. Because it's a different type of game and different type of story, as opposed to the more narrative story type games where we're all hanging out at a campfire telling each other what we do.
Right. That's the pass the stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I like both. There's times where I like that risk of death and having it roll and, oh, nope, you died. And then there's times I like not having that, masks specifically, you're not supposed to be, dealing with death and things like that. And there's a lot of games that, specify that or don't specify that. Yeah, I don't know. I like variety in my death.
Oh my!
Oh my!
Although it is kind of poignant when we have that shocking moment when the character gets killed in the middle of the game. When my brash Xanax, my ex-stormtrooper traveler Star Wars character, when he got killed, I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have stood in front of the window I couldn't see into.
Yeah,
that was the stupidest thing I've ever done.
Sometimes even if you are sad and not planning it, it can be kind of a cool thing. There's kind of that moment, and it's you learn from it, but also oh wow, that makes perfect sense with the story. I don't know.
Right.
I tend to like my players to be epic badasses, and then throw terrible things at them.
Yeah.
Right. And so in my Traveler game, when I had somebody die, she's I can fucking kill anything, and she's right. She absolutely can kill any one thing.
Yeah.
but not 8 of them.
Yeah.
Not
not
8 of them.
yeah.
And that's what happened. And when I'm, fucking geeked somebody, and then they turned around and turned her into a crimson stain on the wall.
Yeah.
And everybody else was, oh, shit.
Oh yeah.
The baddest of badasses amongst us just got annihilated by dudes with guns. Whoa.
And then there's the jumping off point from that story of the character's death.
Yeah.
Because now we have to. Maybe the badass of the party gets killed and they retreat. They run
Yeah.
away. Now they got to regroup and figure out what to do. And you have now they're really scared of these guys, right? So they're gonna we have to hide. We have to avoid being detected and all this stuff. But we got to get back at them.
Yeah.
Somehow we got to get back
Yeah.
at them. So as far as player motivation and driving the story forward, a character death can actually help that a lot.
And also, the next character can come in by how they choose to tackle that problem. Like, we need somebody on the inside, or we need a face character, because we obviously didn't have that, or we need another badass. We need to find somebody who knew this person, or whatever you have. It springboards to finishing whatever problem or whatever thing the players wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, there's also there's always that, and they're talking about this in the chat room right now. There's always that choice they have of running away or not, or entering the fight in the first place. A lot of times, especially when you're really thinking about the players, generally know more than their characters. Even if they're trying not to metagame, they're gonna figure out a little bit more. And they're like, okay, this is a dangerous situation, and if they decide to make there's some choice involved in that. There's some player agency in stepping into that fight.
Oh,
So,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, because they're talking about as long as the deaths aren't arbitrary. I don't think that. I think most deaths in a role playing game, on the front end, the events leading up to it are kind of arbitrary, because it's usually the result of dice rolls, and that's about as arbitrary as.
I mean, you should never
Yeah.
have somebody shoot at a character if you aren't okay with that character dying right then.
Yeah.
Right.
And you should
Yeah.
never yeah, I would admit, if you're in the forest and they're getting jumped by some bandits, that's shitty. That's lame. That's not fun to die that way.
Right. Well, I think.
But if you're having them fight an actual interesting combat that has involved in the story, then yeah, I feel like that's not arbitrary. That's part of the story you and they are creating together. But yeah, don't let them oh, you stepped on a nail and you haven't had your tetanus shot.
Ooh, tetanus is a bad way to die.
It is, yeah.
Oh.
But I think what I mean is the meaningfulness of the death is a result of the events that happen after the character dies.
Yes.
So if a character does randomly get killed by a bunch of bandits, maybe the GM decides, oh, there's something special about these bandits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it becomes the GMs have a lot of latitude. They can make stuff more significant.
Yes.
Whenever they want.
Yes.
And so you can turn that into, oh, this was this person died. Yes, it's a very, very terrible tragedy, but it uncovered this plot of super bandits that are living in the forest that are actually undead, maybe, or whatever. I don't know.
I would actually say if you're going to have bandits attack the party, they already should be attached to some sort of larger threat.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter what. And so either that helps uncover the threat or what have you, but maybe the zombie necromancer bandits, that's awesome. And they have a dead wolf for a hand kind of thing. That'd be so cool. Like a bitey hand.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I want to make these bandits now.
But I mean, I should have taken notes immediately afterwards. But what was the last game we played? Was it Vampire?
Yes, you played Vampire last Sunday.
So much of that game was improvised. So much of that game was improvised because they went in a direction I didn't think they were going to go into. I'm like, okay.
That's sort of a tradition with the Vampire games
Yes.
you run, though. And all
That's
the
true.
games you run. Yeah,
It's
all the
real
games.
hard to know.
All games.
All games, period.
But yeah, I just think, I mean, if you have a character death, you can turn that. You don't even have to retcon anything. You can, because the GM can. You don't know. The players don't know who sent the bandits or whatever. The GM can just come up with something more significant, even tied into the plot, even if it was supposed to be just sort of like a combat encounter that just sort of You get, the show versus tell thing, and this is a dangerous part of the country, and I'm going to demonstrate this by the fact that you get attacked by bandits. Right. That's perfectly valid reason to have that kind of combat, as long as it's not long and drawn out.
Yeah.
But if you have that kind of combat, and a character actually dies in the middle of it, you're like, oh, fuck. I better make these bandits more important than just, I'm going to show you guys that the place is dangerous.
Yeah, that sucks. Don't do that.
I had something like that happen once in a Cyberpunk 2020 game. Throwing a grenade without knowing how to throw one is the most dangerous thing you can do in that game. Because the blast reflects off the walls, and it's called the chunky salsa effect.
Oh, man.
And so I did that once, and everybody was mad at me.
Your character did it?
Yes. He goes, why do you have a grenade? Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Sure would be nice to have some grenades right now.
And so now, when a whole bunch of characters were like dead all of a sudden, we had to kind of regroup and change the whole thing. It ended up working out just fine.
Right.
But yeah, the random death that a character can even just do to themselves. Maybe a botched roll or doing something they really shouldn't do.
Right.
And now your
sure.
character's dead. Now that should be significant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in our Savage Worlds Rifts game, I rolled a critical failure firing my railgun, and it was, and I was aiming. The blast radius was going to be in such a way that it was that Samantha's character was just outside the blast radius. So of course the shot went directly at her.
Yeah.
Isn't the one that died because Bill was playing a crazy.
Yeah.
And they had this blaze of glory thing where they can just go out in a blaze of glory, and he's like, I just bound up in front of the railgun dart, which is probably physically impossible, but it's a role playing game.
And it will go through you like a hot knife through butter.
Right.
Well, and she's a dragon, so
Right.
if we're gonna start like nitpicking about realism here,
I love crazies though; they're so great.
Yes. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's not my fault. I didn't kill him. All right. Thank you for the email, Jason. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yes.
it. AI, the future of gaming, from James in New Zealand. Oh, happy Waitangi Day.
Happy way tangy
they
day.
clarified in the chat room. It's sort of like the 4th of July, so it's not like a sad thing. It's like we have barbecues and beer and stuff. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not the celebration of a mass murder. Or
Yeah.
something.
No,
Okay.
yeah, it wasn't like a treaty
Like,
after
yeah.
some terrible. I
Right.
mean, it was a
So
fight.
what
but yeah.
do they throw on the Barbie in New Zealand? Because I know shrimps get thrown on the Barbie in Australia. What is thrown on the Barbie in New Zealand?
I don't know.
I think other meat.
Kiwis?
They're too little.
Oh yeah, they're. Well, I mean, you can have Cornish game hens or quail. Quail are delicious.
Quail's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's like, oh look, I did a loop. It's gone. I accidentally swallowed it before I chewed. You ever had quail?
Yes, I have had
It's
quail.
there's remarkably no meat on that.
Well, they're
I don't
only
understand why
like
they
this
can
big
fly.
anyway. They can't really
But they
fly.
should have these big, huge wing muscles.
They can't really fly. Quail don't fly.
Oh, they don't?
No.
God is my witness. I thought quail can fly.
All right.
They really don't fly at all.
We
Are you
had-
sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the state bird of California. They don't fly. They run on the ground and
Yeah.
hide in bushes.
And they
That
have
was a
the
California
little
condor.
the baby quails.
Just because it has California in the name does not mean it's the state bird.
What's cool is they have like little baby quails behind them.
Yeah.
Like you remember playing Snake when you like.
Yeah. All right.
We had them all the time at EJ. I thought about like
Oh, no. Quail are very sociable birds and can often gather in small flocks called coveys. They are somewhat laid-back birds. In California. They're
they
from
smoke,
L.A.
they smoke some weed, but
LA.
Preferring to walk on the ground rather than fly, but if startled, they can explode into flight at speeds of up to 40 miles an hour. However, quail cannot endure long flights.
Oh, so they're like chickens. They can kind of.
Yeah, they can glide.
they're like rocket chickens.
Well, it's like if you ever watch the parrots around here,
Oh yeah.
they fly like shit. When is the last time you've seen a parrot soar?
Well, they don't soar. They've got.
Yeah.
They have to.
And they flap as hard as they fucking can, and they're moving slow, and they're going.
They're not made for like gliding.
Well, because they have like you would too if you had like a face the size of your belly.
That's true.
Well, and they're not predator birds. So predator birds like have to glide without making any noise. And never mind.
They can't even.
No, I know because
And they make a fucking racket all the time.
It's because they're not predators.
But at least they're not peacocks.
Oh, fuck.
Oh my! How long has this email been in here, by the way?
These emails are from, like, some of them are from December.
Merry Christmas, Happy Jack's crew. All right. Of course, it's probably well past Christmas by the time I hear this on the podcast, but that's beside the point. I hope you all had a great holiday period. Well, we're having a great holiday because it's Waitangi Day. So,
Oh my god, I can't breathe.
during my time off, to distract myself from being jammed in a house with 17 family members for several days, I came across AI Dungeon, beta.aidungeon.io. From the Patreon page, AI Dungeon is an AI-generated text adventure that uses deep learning to create each adventure. Remember those text-based adventure games from way back? This is like that. Except instead of typing out a fixed set of action words and getting canned responses, you can write anything you want as actions or dialogue, and the AI responds back. It immediately occurred to me that an AI was acting as a GM. Sorry for how long this is becoming, but take this example. See if you can tell where I stopped typing typing the start of this story, and the AI picked up and ran with things. Right, so this is the thing. You are the captain of a private starship. You make a living transporting goods between star systems. Occasionally, you also do a bit of bounty hunting on the side. You enter the bar at a local spaceport, looking to find your next job. The bartender's surprised when he sees you come in and says, "Oh, I didn't expect you back so soon." He motions for you to sit across one of the tables. "I've got a couple jobs for people like you. What kind?" I stopped typing after the word job in the middle. Oh, wow. I was astonished. I proceeded to have a traveler-esque adventure involving getting an architect into a system with an ancient derelict space station that was inhabited by pirates.
Archaeologist, not architect.
Oh, yeah, sorry, archaeologist. Sorry.
That changes the whole thing.
Everything. Yes, there were times when the AI derped out and seemed to forget some of the established context, but it was still pretty amazing. Now, I don't see us sitting around tables with robots in the GM seat anytime soon, but this makes such a future actually seem possible. What do you think? At this stage, I'm thinking this could be a useful tool for GMs who are looking for short story hook ideas. They seem to have... Shut up.
I just had an idea. The GM's sitting there with it, going... and just reading block text, and everyone's like, "God, I've never heard a GM like improvise so eloquently before."
Oh God! All right, so I'll keep going. At this stage, I'm thinking it could be a useful tool for GMs who are looking for story hook ideas. They seem to have trained the AI on crap tons of fantasy adventure style fiction, so it seems to have a lot of the tropes figured out. Have you ever tried this out yet? So, if so, what uses have you come up for it to augment the TTRPG hobby, if any? Here's to another outstanding year of TTRPG goodness from the Happy Jacks crew in 2020. Regards, James from New Zealand. P.S. Okay, I had to send a follow-up. The creator of AI Dungeon just sent an email to the Patreon backers. They're going for 2 new goals, voice support and multiplayer.
Holy shit.
Bringing on our new AI GM overlords, I guess?
Okay, I'm seeing Al everywhere. Al Dungeon.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Al Dungeon.
I just got an account on this thing, and I picked you picked the genre. And it has 4 or 5 genres, and then it asks you what archetype character you want to play, and then it asks for the character's name, and then this is what it generated. You are Vorlok, a knight living in the kingdom of Larian. You have a steel longsword and a wooden shield. You are on a quest to defeat the evil dragon of Larian. You've heard he lives up at the north of the kingdom. North should be capitalized. You set on the path to defeat him and walk into a dark forest. As you enter the forest, you see a black dragon flying overhead. He is very angry and roaring. The only thing that can be done now is to fight him.
Whoa.
The next day, you set out with your companions.
Not perfected.
I'm not feeling it yet.
Oh.
That's pretty amazing, though. Like in his like paragraph there, like that where he stopped typing at jobs, and the rest of it is like, oh, there's like 3 or 4 more sentences after that are like really good,
Yes.
and like
Oh, yeah.
they've got dialogue and everything. It's pretty amazing.
The only thing is people are terrible, and if it learns from the people that play it,
Yes.
it's gonna go south real fast.
I didn't just think of that myself. It actually almost looks like it's kind of like a free-form Zork game.
Yeah. And Zork is
And Zork was fantastic.
I think, especially for like giving ideas, I think it's probably very functional right now. And the fact that they're doing voice and like starting to add in, that's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I think it just sounds like fun as like a pastime.
Yeah.
You know, I got some time to kill. Let's see what Al Dungeon has to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it definitely will get there someday.
GMing can often require a great deal of creativity.
Yes.
And that's going to be a hard thing for computers to, unless you just make it random.
Some GMing. Like, we get
That's true.
so many emails on this show about GMs who are basically writing books. I mean, it can't
Oh,
be
right. Where it's
wor-
like,
yeah.
oh, here's my story that you are going
Yeah.
to go through.
So, I mean, it can't
well, here,
be
I'll
worse than that.
Stop railroading me.
Oh. What does it say? What did it say back?
I didn't even read it.
And it says, how dare you, and explode your computer.
Table flip.
Oh, it just ignored me.
Oh, see, it's just like those GMs. It's already like real life.
It is. It's writing. It's a random novel generator. Although I might be. It did let me. I said I want to meet my companions, and it says, okay, you open the door, and you. I don't even know where I was, where there was a door. You open the door and find your companion standing there. They look tired, but not too bad. We need to get ready for our journey, one says. I'm going to go sleep off my wounds. Another one nods, and it's D&D. Another one nods and heads upstairs while another runs over to his wagon.
It's not quite.
No.
It might get there. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's machine learning. That's not a buzzword. You decide to take that. Then I said, stop railroading me. You decide to take them up on their offer. And
get on the railroad.
and all set off towards the north. When you reach the northern part of the kingdom, you tell your companions where to go and what to do. Just like you're telling me, Al. Soon after setting off, you notice some strange-looking creatures lurking about in the woods nearby.
Murder.
Kill them.
Kill my companions. Wait, what?
You quickly shoot an arrow. Where did I get the arrow from? I have a sword. You told me I had an iron steel sword.
Well, maybe a
sorry.
steel sword is the brand of arrow.
Yeah, there you go.
The others start shooting arrows as well, and soon they begin attacking the creatures. Soon after killing them, you notice that there are more in the area. Run.
You fire another arrow.
It's trying. It's thinking. It's still thinking. You run faster than you ever have before. Your legs feel like lead, and your body feels heavy. You don't know how much longer you can keep up this pace, but you will try to make it.
So it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's basically just doing like story generation because it doesn't have, it's not based on stats. It's not based on inventory in any type. So it's like, okay, that's interesting though. It could definitely like be a creativity sparker. I'm also wondering like he was doing like a futuristic like sci-fi one. So I'm wondering if like those maybe are more fleshed out.
I didn't see that listed.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
There was like custom. Maybe he made. Maybe you
maybe.
can go in and make your own. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
But I can totally see where if you're like, I have no fucking idea what
Yeah.
to do this session, and just sit and just like
Type in some stuff.
and just get some brainstorming stuff. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's telling me I have to eat.
Oh, man. You eat your sword.
Pass the perky nanas.
Perky nana lumps. All right.
+3 to stamina.
I'm going to keep playing with this, James.
Yeah.
All right. Now see what you've done?
You grab your sword and feast on it. You enjoy every bite. After eating everything in your stomach,
Okay.
you finish off by drinking some water from a stream nearby.
Oh, God.
Pee in stream. I'm going to ruin their algos.
I I mean, hopefully it's not learning from the. That would just ruin it, like Debbie
It
said.
ignored me.
Oh, of course.
Hurry back to your friends and tell them what happened.
Yeah.
I peed in the stream.
There are probably some words that is like anything that it has to do with like
Bodily functions.
bodily functions, like just like these don't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Just move on.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you very
That's
much.
how you stop people from turning it into porn.
It could totally turn
I mean,
into
that's a
porn.
whole other use for it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like fanfic, like auto-written.
Wouldn't be any worse than regular fanfic.
No. Auto-written autoerotica.
Right. Auto-write, auto-erotica.
Yeah. Autoerotic. Yeah.
Autoerotica?
Yeah.
Autoerotica auto? I don't know.
There's
All right.
something there.
Okay. How to play Deities from Adam in Utah.
Jackie Happers. I'll get right to the point. Drink.
Woohoo!
I've been a silent listener since season 3, and I've loved the show since.
Aw.
You've given great advice and changed how I GM. Thank you. My current game is with my family. Wife, brother, brother's girlfriends, brother-in-law. And because they're new to role-playing, we're playing D&D 5e. Mm-hmm. I know, I'm excited to move on to my favorite system, GURPS.
Yeah!
In our last session, the 5th level party fought a warlock working with an evil god. After a harrowing battle that took 2 hours, the last thing they did was destroy the warlock's tome he was carried on him, unknowingly releasing the deity.
Yeah.
I already have a few methods for them to seal the god back, but I don't know how best to run it while it wanders around. Do you have any tips to make deities seem like the big deal which they are? Drink again, and best regards, Adam from Utah.
It's a lot of drinking from Utah there.
Well, most of the state's like dry counties, right?
No.
It's been a long time
Yeah.
since I've been there, but you can't, like, in restaurants, when I went, you couldn't buy alcohol in restaurants. You had to go to the state-owned alcohol dispensary, which is usually, like, there's a door inside that leads to it.
Weird. It's on the restaurant.
Except when I was staying in a hotel which was actually on airport property, and that was, they'd served.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you have to go outside to smoke, but you have to go outside to drink. Kind of thing.
You can bring it back in. You can drink.
okay.
You can have a drink with your meal. But at least then, and this may have changed. I mean, this is back when I worked at McDonnell Douglas. We're talking almost 30 years ago. But when I'd have to, we had to go to this little room and tell them what you want, and then bring it back.
Okay.
But anyway,
Anyway,
that may have changed.
I was thinking I thought this was the most interesting, like, one of the more interesting queries in a while. And that's like, with a god, it really depends on how you run gods.
Yes.
I mean, one of the things about lots of fantasy campaigns is that you know gods exist. There is no, like, ambiguity. So, being, like, having that whole, whatchamacallit, we worship a whole bunch of different gods.
Polytheistic.
Pantheism?
Yeah, where each of them has their own specific, like, thing that they do makes a lot of sense, and everybody essentially worships everybody because you know they all exist.
Depending what you need at the time.
Yeah, and then you might focus on one. So that's kind of what I would do in this scenario is when a god is, like, on the prime material plane, everything, like, tends to shift towards what they do. So, like, if it's a hunting god, let's say, like, bread stops tasting good to everybody. I don't know why, and, like, people get kind of literally bloodthirsty. But, like, blood tastes real good. They're not vampires or anything, but that whole, like, the concept of hunting and the ideas behind it, people just tend to move towards it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the evil god does, but whatever it is that their, like, thing is, the things that don't apply to that just start getting muted. And the things that, it's kind of like if all of a sudden you just saw everything in shades of green.
Right.
Those colors still exist, but they're all kind of muted, and they're in a green scale kind of thing, as opposed to them, like, not existing so much.
Right.
But yeah, like, if it's a peace deity, nobody can get in fights anymore. but also like maybe somebody just releases everybody from jail. Maybe crimes still happen, but it's hard to apprehend them because you can't use physical force to do that.
Right. Or you don't want to use physical
Right, you don't want to. And so all of these unintended consequences just kind of happen. And that's real easy to do with an evil god. But like having it be sort of subtle and just sort of like the players know something's wrong, but they don't see like a giant god in front of them or people aren't talking about it. It's just kind of slowly just how things are. You don't really remember it being any different.
Right. Yeah.
I had my friend Brian, back when we played GURPS in college, ran a fantasy game. It started out post-apocalyptic, and then we were playing ourselves. And then there was this like weird nuclear explosion, and then we sort of woke up like 500 years later in this fantasy Earth. And it turns out I was a mage. But he had specifically like tailored these spells. Go ahead. Bless you.
I'm muted. Stop. No,
Let's get it on the...
It's stuck now.
Stare at the bright light. It always helps. Yeah. Yeah, staring at bright light helps. If you have a sneeze and it's not quite coming out, if you go out and stare at the sun, it'll
It
right
sets
away.
off your sinuses.
You all get to look at the sun and then you'll sneeze. I'm serious.
All you gotta do is just stare at it until you sneeze.
Or just a bright
Or
light.
go blind.
Or go blind.
Or burn your cornea.
Anyway, this is an important story. Go.
So he totally revamped the spells that existed and kind of came up with his own sort of spells. There were some of them were more meditative. There was one where you could basically go into a meditative state, and I think you healed a little faster. And there was another one where you could, like, basically astrally project. But most of his spells were based on demons. And at one point, I had learned the summon demon spell, and we were in a tight spot, and we weren't going to make it out. And so I went ahead and drew the circle, and I summoned a demon. And then this is applicable, like, if you want to actually have, like, a personal interaction between this deity and the player characters, because this scared the shit out of us. This guy appears, an ordinary person, naked, but he's acting like everything around him is like a movie, and it's not real. So he's like, when you talk to him, he's like, yeah? Oh, what? You need me to kill someone? Oh, I'll need a weapon. Okay. Yeah. Release me from the circle, please. And we're like, and everyone's like on pins and needles, like, what the fuck did we just do? Because it wasn't what we expected. It wasn't the big giant red thing with horns and goat's feet and all that. It was just this dude who seemed to be distracted and not really even like considering our world reality.
Right.
That's one of the coolest ideas for a demon
really
I've
awesome.
ever heard.
Super creepy
Like-
and amazing.
He was like, you don't really mean anything to
No.
me. You need me? All right, I guess.
Oh yeah, he's bound. I was able to bind him. So I gave him a knife and I released him from the circle.
You summoned the dude.
Right. And he leaves and presumably murders whoever it was I wanted him to murder. And then he's free to do whatever he wants. And we're all like, what the fuck did we just do?
He goes, so how'd you get him back? Because that's not part of the spell.
No, it's not. And I don't know. The game didn't run much longer than that. But we're all like, this is uncomfortable.
Wow.
So I mean that's one way you could kind of, like, if you want them to actually meet this dark deity, don't have him be the big guy with the a Warhammer armor with the spikes on it. And just he's like a normal dude who just seems to be just a little distracted and doesn't seem to really care about you.
Or a creepy kid.
Right, or a creepy kid.
Or a person with a cat. The cat's really the god, but the person is talking for the cat.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
Blofeldian.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like flipping all those expectations on their head is a really good way. And I always love with things like this to take kind of a cue from a lot of really great horror movies where you don't see the scary thing for a while. Like if you see it right away, like with your summoning a demon, you're obviously going to see it right away. But them releasing this, take all these ideas and have it build up, and like put off them actually seeing the deity for as long as possible. So it's like with Tappy's ideas, all these creepy, weird things start happening. They're the only people who know why it's happening. Then slowly but surely, finally they track it down somehow, and then it's like Stu's idea where it's like, oh, this isn't what we expected. Oh, that guy's been like following us around for 3 days. We thought he was just some drunk, and oh no, this guy's been following us. Like, so something like that where it's
he's a quest giver for like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah. They go in, and it's always best if it's like some weird thing, like it's like the tavern keeper that they've been getting drinks from or whatever, and suddenly they go in and they ask, oh yeah, where's Joe? Oh, there's not a Joe who works here. Who have you been talking to? Yeah. And they're like, Joe, the
guy who's been sitting over there?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That no one's been sitting over there. You guys have been over there by yourselves talking to each other.
Yeah, like, you guys have like your own club meetings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it turns out the person that they've been checking in with for a while is this evil deity.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I like that so much.
Because if they're really evil, they're gonna be manipulative as fuck.
Absolutely.
On a level you're not even gonna. So I think kind of a combination. Things just kind of start changing, and then they just meet some guy, and they have no idea, because if he's going to go out and do a bunch of evil, he's going to do it from behind.
He's going to make the player characters do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. And terribly manipulative.
Find out, like, they're just like, why did you kill the king? I mean, he was terrible. He was doing all these... What?
Yeah, but no.
What are you talking about? Well, I mean, everybody's starving. What? No, I mean, he's been giving people food.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
There's been this famine since the day that they allowed the guy to come out. What?
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So I pee in the stream. You hurry back to your friends and tell them what happened. Quote, I peed in the stream, end quote. That was my reply. They laugh at you and tell you never to come back here again. I leave. So it got back on. It got back in verse.
Yeah.
I leave dejected. Comma, dejected.
Dejectedly.
What's going to say?
Oh, Sue's going to do this all weekend. We're going to come
No,
back.
I have too much to do this
He's going to have a novel. Yeah, right. What does that stop you?
You walk away from the group and head south.
South capitalized?
No.
Okay.
No, head south would not be capitalized.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
If it said head to the south, it should be capitalized. You soon see a large forest with many trees. It looks very familiar to the place where you grew up, only smaller. I shrink.
Very tiny. It's a tiny
It's
little
like
town.
a field of trees that are all 4 feet tall.
You shrink yourself into a small tree and sit down. And then watch the surrounding area for any other creatures or people. You hear nothing out of the ordinary until you get close to the edge of a cliff.
Oh.
There is no one around, so you slowly creep over it and look down below.
Is it a regular-sized cliff, or is it a tiny cliff, too?
What's there? It doesn't matter. I'm little. At this point,
yeah,
even
it's
if it's a little cliff, it's a big cliff.
Yeah.
There is a cave entrance right next to the cliff face, so you go inside. I didn't say I was going inside. and
Railroady
find
jam.
that it leads to a room filled with bookshelves, and shelves. There are also several torches illuminating the room. Burn the books. You get enough murder hobos in this thing, it's going to be unplayable.
Yeah.
You light all the torches and wait for something to happen. Nothing happens, so you set fire to the bookshelves and start burning them. The flames quickly spread throughout the room and consume most of it.
The GM sitting there glaring.
Dance in the flames.
Revel in the death of knowledge.
Oh, God.
See, like, I don't have personal experience with murder hobos. You continue to burn the books until they become ashes. You then proceed to put the ashes in a sack and throw it away.
And then I burn that.
I think we're good.
Okay, one more. Last one.
Okay, last one.
I stand triumphant. What's it going to say? You feel great, and you decide to sleep for a while. When you wake up, you notice that the sun has risen. You don't know why, but you feel like taking another nap again.
It knows you well. I just woke up. I think I should take a nap.
I die.
We just had an email about this too.
I know. But I know it's me.
Okay.
You fall asleep and never wake up.
Oh. Is that what it says, really?
Yes, that's what it says. I'm reading what it says.
Wow.
All right. Okay. That's it. I'll put the thing now.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us for season 26, episode 5 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
And this is Tappy.
And we'll see you next week at 7:09 p.m.-ish Pacific time at happyjacks.org/live. Thank you very much. And we'll leave with a song.
Go back Decima on
Decima.
Kickstarter.
And that is at Golden Lasso Games.
GoldenLassoGames.com/Kickstarter.
GoldenLassoGames.com/Kickstarter.
We're really close.
And
We're $300 away from making Samantha draw all the art.
Have fun, and we'll leave with a song.
Hero Pathfinder, fatal savage world. Evil plots will be usurping. Though we could do with less burping. Happy Jack's podcast will be douchebags all.
We're out of time and out of space, lamenting for the human race. A cataclysmic crisis from the past. A small blue world, thunder-torn, an apocalyptic nightmare born. And mankind better learn to cope with it fast. Watch the glittering protectors rise! Inhuman foes meet your demise! And boom, boom, boom! Your end is nigh! Another night, another fight. We battle by the glowing light of fallen foes in funeral pyres ablaze. No quarter shall we give our foe, and neither will they, and this we know, as kinetic flares flash upon our display. Watch the glittering protectors rise! Inhuman foes meet your demise! And boom, boom, boom! Your end is nigh!
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.